There was a time when Millie Bobby Brown felt like everyone's little sister. The quiet, grounded breakout star of Stranger Things who brought something raw and real to the screen. But over the past year, something shifted. Her recent appearances have triggered a wave of commentary online. People are confused by how different she looks. Her facial structure, her lips, the overall tone of her image. It's all become fuel for speculation. The shift in public opinion hasn't been subtle. She's being picked apart by strangers across platforms. Her photos analyzed, her interviews mocked, her appearance turned into content. It's no longer about her acting or her career. It's about how she looks. And whether that change is natural or not, people are reacting to it as if it's a betrayal. The irony is, she's only 20. To understand how we got here, how someone so widely embraced ended up in the middle of this kind of backlash, we have to look at the bigger picture. Millie Bobby Brown didn't just get famous. She became a face that Hollywood couldn't stop using. When Stranger Things premiered in 2016, she was only 12 years old. Her performance as 11 was raw, intense, and unusually mature for someone her age. Almost immediately, the industry saw her as more than just a child actor. She was marketable, profitable, a brand in the making. By 20, she had built a full-fledged entertainment brand around herself. But the effect of this constant visibility hasn't been entirely positive. Fans began to notice a shift, not just in her face or fashion, but in how she presented herself. Somewhere along the way, she stopped feeling like a young actress and started feeling like a PR machine. This overexposure has fed directly into the backlash she's facing now. Millie's filmography is impressive, no question, but it may also be the reason people feel disconnected from her. By the time Millie turned 20, speculation about her appearance had overtaken nearly every conversation about her. Not her acting, not her films, just her face. The public wasn't just noticing the changes, they were dissecting them. Social media feeds filled with side-by-side comparisons. Her jawline looked sharper, her lips fuller, her nose more refined. What made it worse was the silence. Millie hasn't publicly addressed any cosmetic procedures, and that absence of clarity only fueled more rumors. She's not the first young actress to go through this, but the intensity, the speed with which it's happened to Millie is unusual, and in many ways, it's only the beginning. And that leads us to the next chapter in this shift. The part that really confused people. Why Millie Bobby Brown decided to get married at 20. Just as the conversation around Millie's appearance was reaching its peak, another announcement sent the internet into a frenzy. She was engaged. At just 19, Millie Bobby Brown revealed her plans to marry Jake Bon Jovi, son of John Bon Jovi. By 20, she was married. The reactions were immediate, and they weren't kind. Some called it a publicity stunt. Others questioned her judgment. Many just seemed genuinely confused. While most teenagers were navigating high school drama, she was navigating Netflix contracts, press tour, and global fame. The timing of the marriage also raised another question, one that struck a deeper nerve. Was this about love, or was it about stability? Because from the outside, it looked like Millie had no real peer circle, no strong friend group, no real connection to her former Stranger Things castmates. And in that context, getting married young could be seen as a form of self-protection, a way to anchor herself while everything else kept spinning. As Millie stepped into adulthood not just in her personal life, but in how she dressed, spoke, and presented herself, a new kind of criticism emerged. It wasn't just about surgery or marriage anymore. It was about tone, about energy, about presence. This wasn't about one specific outfit or event. It was a pattern. Red carpet looks that leaned more mature than people expected. Heavy makeup, high fashion styling, poses and expressions that felt like they belonged to someone a decade older. The comments started to pile up. Why is she dressing like she's 35? She's lost that natural charm. She's trying to look older than she is. And for Millie, that's where things started to get even more noticeable. Because while she was everywhere in the media, there was one place she seemed completely absent from the friendships that defined her early career. When Stranger Things first exploded in popularity, one of its most appealing features beyond the sci-fi nostalgia was the chemistry between the young cast. On and off screen, Millie Bobby Brown, Finn Wolfhard, Noah Schnapp, Gaten Matarazzo, and Caleb McLaughlin seemed inseparable. Interviews felt natural, behind-the-scenes clips went viral, and fans loved seeing their bond extend beyond the show. But as the years passed, that closeness faded, and more importantly, people started noticing. Today, Millie feels noticeably distant from the rest of the Stranger Things cast. While the others occasionally appear together on social media, at public events, or in group interviews, Millie often stands alone. It didn't take long for viewers to start connecting dots, and assuming Millie had become the outlier. There's no confirmed drama, no public fallout, but the silence is loud. People aren't just judging her face or her choices, they're starting to reject her altogether. There's a point in every public figure's life when the spotlight turns cold, not because of one major scandal, but because of something subtler. A shift in how people feel about them. And for Millie Bobby Brown, that shift has already happened. It's not just the plastic surgery rumors, or the marriage, or the distancing from her co-stars. It's something more personal. People say she's not likable anymore. And once that switch flips, when someone is labeled unlikable, every move they make is viewed with suspicion. Even when she says something harmless, it's read as arrogant. The warning signs are already there. And they lead straight into the next phase of her career, the part that many former child stars never make it through. Millie Bobby Brown isn't the first child star to face this kind of backlash, and she won't be the last. Hollywood has a long, brutal history of turning kids into commodities. Millie entered that system early. By 10, she was auditioning in Los Angeles. By 12, she was globally recognized. At 14, she was walking red carpets in designer gowns and sitting front row at fashion weeks. And by 16, she was running a beauty brand, signing multi-million-dollar contracts, and producing her own films. On the outside, it looked like success. But on the inside, that kind of acceleration comes with a cost. The signs are clear, and unless something changes, the narrative that's building around her will only get worse. Because once the internet decides you're the problem, it doesn't take much for them to start looking for proof in every word, every photo, every move you make. One recent example was her appearance during a Netflix promo tour. Despite the professionally crafted press material, fan reactions focused almost entirely on her facial expressions, her body language, her tone. Millie Bobby Brown didn't fall from grace because of a scandal. She didn't lash out, spiral, or implode. She just grew up, and apparently that was enough. The public says she changed, and maybe she did. Her appearance is different, her presence more polished, her lifestyle more private. But what's never asked is why she changed. If she had stayed the same, people would have said she was immature. If she matured slowly, they'd say she was irrelevant. Instead, she adapted fast, took control, made moves most people twice her age couldn't pull off, and somehow that made her less likable. So when people say she ruined her face, what they really mean is she stopped looking the way I wanted her to. When they say she's not relatable anymore, what they mean is she outgrew the version of herself I was comfortable with. Millie's transformation, whether surgical, emotional, or professional, wasn't for the public. It was for survival. Because growing up in front of millions doesn't just shape who you are. It warps your reality. And in that warped space, you either bend to what people want from you, or you take the risk of being hated for stepping outside of it. She chose the second option, and now she's paying the price. Not because she did something wrong, but because she dared to become someone different than the public expected. That's the real story. Not the face, not the marriage, not the brand deals. The cost of being watched for too long. The weight of never being allowed to just be. So no, she didn't ruin her face. She just stopped being who people wanted her to be. And for some reason, in today's world, that's unforgivable.